You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mama friends. Happy Valentine's Day. I am so happy you're here, whether you're listening today on the day of love or you're not. You are in for a treat today as we talk about all things relationships. I'm Marissa Lonick, founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. And I am super pumped to introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Abby Medcalf. Abby is a relationship maven, a psychologist, author, podcast host, and Tedx speaker who has helped thousands of people think differently so they can create connection, ease, and joy in their relationships, especially the relationship you have with yourself. With her unique background in both business and counseling, she brings a fresh, effective perspective to life struggles using humor, research, and her direct, no-nonsense style, which I love. With over 35 years of experience, Abby is a recognized authority and sought-after speaker at organizations such as Google, Apple, AT&T, Kaiser, PG&E, American Airlines, and Chevron. She's been a featured expert on CBS and ABC News and has been a contributor to the New York Times, Women's Health, Psychology Today, Well and Good, and Bustle. She is the author of the #1 Amazon bestselling book, Be Happily Married, Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing, as well as the newly released Boundaries Made Easy, and the host of the top-rated Relationships Made Easy podcast, now in over 170 countries, you guys. Woo! I am super excited to talk to Dr. Abby. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. It always sounds like my mother wrote my intro. Like, wow,
a proud mama.
I'm so impressed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I know I would love to just hear a little bit more about how this all came to be, like just your journey in general, if you don't mind sharing that with us.
Of course. I'll do it really Reader's Digest version because I'm old and I know what Reader's Digest is.
I know what Reader's Digest is.
All right. Even you youngsters. I'm from New York and I'm a recovering heroin addict. And when I got clean and sober, I went on a quest to kind of find myself. And, I did Anthony Robbins and I did EST and LifeSpring, all the things. And obviously 12-step meeting, all of it, lots of therapy, lots of rehabs, lots of stuff. And basically I ended up getting into the counseling field, which I think a lot of recovering addicts do. And then I decided I wanted to help more people. So I went back and got a business degree and thought, now I'm going to work in businesses, and then sort of went on and I have a master's in counseling psychology, but my PhD is in organizational psychology, which is a little bit of a different thing. And I did the corporate thing for many, many years. I did work in rehabs for years, but I also did international mergers and acquisitions and, helping executives who had drug and alcohol problems. And I still do some of that work. But, I was married during that, had children, and I realized I was missing a lot of my kids. I wasn't seeing them grow up. I was traveling. Feels like I was always on a plane or at work. And I just decided to shift my life. So I shifted out of that. And it was very hard. So any mom listening, it was, I had to replace a lot of money. And I was the primary breadwinner, and it really felt like, how is this ever going to happen? But, we sat down, we made a plan, which at the time that we made it, I think was a 3-year plan. And I turned it into a 1.5-year plan. Cause I was like, once I got on that I could do it, we really figured it out. And I started doing private practice and still doing consulting, but not internet, just staying closer to home. And I just kept building that. And then I built a scalable business. I thought, well, how can I scale this? Ultimately, I still see clients because I love it, not because I have to. And, how do I scale something? So when I started the podcast 6 years ago, I had a coach at the time who told me to do it. And I was like, I never even listened to one, never heard one in my life. I hate to say, I still don't often listen to them. I'm a reader. I love to read. I read tons of books. Like that's what I do. And so I thought, and that's why my podcast is a little odd. I get, it's just research based and my, tools and tips and really to help you get there. But I started writing books and I love to write. I have a weekly love letter that goes out just to help inspire people. I don't sell anything from the letter. It's just to help inspire and give you a little boost during the week. I just started scaling. And I do want to tell, I think any mom's listening, I don't have a big social media presence. I don't like it's, I didn't grow up in that. I came to it late. So, and it's okay. And I've built a big business without it. So I think there's a lot of lies out there that unless you have social media and go viral or something else, I just have the fan base I have is very interactive. They love my stuff. They write to me. They comment on things. We have a really great, I feel like it's a relationship. So it feels really good to me. And I don't do anything in my business that I don't love. Like literally nothing. Really think of that. I do not one thing I don't, and also I'm a lot older, I'm almost 60 as I talked about. Like I'm at a stage in my career where, but I've been doing this the last few years. I don't work on Mondays. Like I've really just changed my world and my thinking and I make more money than I ever made. So, you know, just be thoughtful as you're thinking of this shift that anything is possible and you don't have to quote unquote play the game as everyone's been playing it. So, and that's I think what any of us who are moms and try to do something different have to remember. And so as long as you're doing things you really love and that inspire you, I say a lot, take action from inspiration, not negative motivation. And when you do that, you know, wonderful things like here I am chatting with you. Like we were chatting before, I could have talked to you all day. You meet fabulous people and you connect and it feels really good.
So much truth to a lot of what you just said. I'm in total agreement. I think when you are really wanting to do what you're doing, when you're passionate about it, when you're fully present for it, it just flows. And believe it or not, I think a lot of us grew up or were instilled with that hustle mindset culture,
Yep.
especially being from New York. Abby and I are both from New York.
Hmm.
So it's really ingrained in you. And I had to do a lot of work to get out of that
Me too.
and to really kind of get into a different sort of flow state. And what I realized, what I saw happening, and I'm sure you have experienced this too, is that when you're in that state, it's almost like no matter what you do, you attract what you want.
Yeah. Easily. Yes. And that is
Yeah.
is really in line with that. When we make decisions, we should make them from how we feel, but let me qualify that, but only from a good feeling state. So what happens is sometimes I'll be talking to a client, and we're in a great place and they're making a choice about something. Yeah, I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to go be a entrepreneur. I can't tell you how many women I've helped do that. And then they get home, they're away from me. So they make that in a calm, direct, beautiful place. Like they're thinking well when they make that decision. They're feeling good and inspired. But then they go home and maybe their husband says something or a friend or their mother is like, "Well, you sure you have that great corporate? Why, I can't tell you all the people who thought I was insane. I was really at the top of my field where I was and they were like, "What are you doing?" And then you start to doubt, right? And your anxiety lies to you. You start, what about the money? And what about that? What if this doesn't work? And what if I have to do all the social media and I don't like it? And what if and then you make decisions from there. I don't think it was a good idea. I don't know what I was thinking. And that's the
Mm,
problem most people have. They then make a decision from anxiety, from a lower based emotion that is not the truth, is not your thinking brain. It's brain chemistry wise, that's your amygdala making choices, your fear brain making choices. So you never want to make decisions from fear. I always say make them from love, which is really your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that problem solves and thinks and can be rational. So remember that when you're thinking of a choice, what people always ask me, well, how do I know if it's my gut instinct? And because you feel calm and excited. That's how you know.
mm.
It feels right. Might feel uncomfortable, but it feels right. But when you're anxious, again, your anxiety lies to you and it tells you things that aren't true. And what about that? What about that? All the worries. So really listen to that inner voice. That's the most important part.
So good. I've definitely been in that place. All right. So, Dr. Abby, we're here to talk today about marriage, partnership, relationships. It's Valentine's Day. I'm excited to dive into this. This is really what you do right now and
Yeah.
focus and help people with. So, I'm going to say, and I'm sure you've experienced this, but I think marriage, partnership, you can go through hard seasons, but especially when you're like raising little kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So, what are some, yeah, right? Like, what are some of your best tips to help moms listening to get through those challenging seasons, especially if they're finding themselves there right now with, babies and toddlers and
hmm,
school stuff going on and all those things that are kind of moving them and pushing and pulling them in all different directions?
yeah. Oh my gosh. I think it's the expectation level. Remember, we're maybe the third generation now only, in the history of humankind, millions of years, right? Or hundreds of thousands at least, like as we are. We're the third maybe generation. I'm only the second generation who are doing this without our families. Without tons of help, without tons of people that are coming in and cooking dinner for you while you're tired and nursing or doing things. It used to be a village. It takes a village to raise a child. Guess where that comes from? Because it was true. That's how that was for so long. But because like you and I live far away from our family, I moved somewhere where I didn't have family. There wasn't anyone here to help. Thank God for my in-laws at the time. But the expectations I think are way too high for what that's going to look like during that time. So I think that's number one. You have to, I always say, have high standards, but low expectations, and really be clear about what those standards are, what's really important. And so allowing things to go, as mommies, I think we just get, I know, I remember I was like, I wanted it this way and that way, and this has to be sterilized. And I don't like the outfit he or she is wearing, and all the things. And it's hard because there's that mommy brain thing is real. And I know you've talked about that before, like that's real. But beyond that, it's really getting to ourselves and reminding ourselves that, first of all, this too shall pass. Second of all, we really are very sleep deprived, which is the thing that doesn't get talked about enough. And it's the biggest emotional dysregulator. There's nothing more dysregulating to you and your emotions than lack of sleep. It is still, just to be clear, the number one form of torture in the world. Every year, Amnesty International puts out that report. Like, what's the biggest torture? They don't let you sleep. And so you're so sleep deprived. So I do say often with new parents, I know there's a lot of like, well, let's, 50-50, and let's, both get up, whatever. And that's fine for a certain period of time. But I often tell people you've got to make another choice. You are a shared battery with your partner. And if both of you are drained, it's worse than if just one of you was drained. And I know that sounds insane in a little bit, but I'd rather neither of you was drained. And maybe if you have money, you have a baby nurse or, nannies or other people to our family or other people to help. But if what we tend to do is look to our partner to pull their weight, to, do their fair share. And there is no fair share. I don't know what to say. Of course, mom, we know this in the research. We do more, we work more hours, all of it. We already know that. And so if you're not, a lucky lesbian and you're married to, if you're heterosexual, I'm not saying men shouldn't do, of course, I'm not saying that. I am saying that you have to lower the expectation about both of you share and what that means. What does it even mean, this 50-50 thing? It's never 50-50. It'll never be 50-50. So, because we're focusing on time. And if you take away the time element and thought more about what does your partner bring and what do you bring and what could we outsource, you get to a better place. I'm just telling you, I've been doing this, it's almost 40 years now, like a really long time. And that's what I have found works when you look outside. It's what my TED talk was about. And I know we're sort of skipping around, but it's related. So I would say lower your expectations, really try to get help, try to get as much help as possible. I remember after with both kids, I went back to work only part time on purpose. Like I really thought about it and planned it and went back and I went back slowly. It was a grieving process for me to leave my little people. I remember just bawling like the first time I dropped off my son, at daycare. I was bawling. He was tiny. He was 6 months. I was able to stay home for 6 months with each of them, which is a huge, beautiful thing for a lot of us working moms. But I was hysterical. and I was still pumping, we get in that place. I felt guilty about working. And so I had a thing, for example, my children only had breast milk for the first year, and I was flying internationally sometimes. So I want you to think that through. And my children only had, both of them had breast milk for the first year. It's insane. I didn't need to do that. It didn't fit my lifestyle. It didn't fit I pressured myself way too much. I let that guilt drive. I let the anxiety drive me. I at least have to do this if I'm not there. Like, this is the thing I can give them. And for anyone breastfeeding or not, this isn't really about that. It's about me and what I could have really been doing with that time and energy. I literally was driving sometimes with a breast pump, pumping, driving. It was unsafe. It was just craziness. And so lower the expectations, allow it to be enough, allow things to be okay. Really allow yourself to be okay, but do your best. I remember, a lot of us have gone days without showering, or i- do your best, whatever it is. We put less money in our retirement for a while purposefully because I thought, well, a divorce is going to be more expensive. So we just took that money and bought help because we didn't have a lot of money when that was, because I wasn't working. There was a lot going on during that. There wasn't much, weren't as many resources in the very beginning, and we used everything we could. We everything we could. We took loans out of our retirement accounts. We did everything to get help so that we could survive it. The divorce rate is highest when the youngest child is 4. To give you an example, when you get
Wow.
them, your kids are a little older now. When they get to not kindergarten. Kindergarten's a lie. Kindergarten's only a few hours a day. You're like, just get them to kindergarten. No, 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 people. Mm-mm. It's first grade. First grade is where you get them. Then
True.
you can back up. I know. You get that other year. You can actually breathe again. And then your child is, 6 or 7 probably, right? So it's really when they get a little older. So if you can just have expectations that these are the hardest years, this isn't going to last forever, and really remind yourself of that every day. I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have, the tools we have. My husband or my partner or my baby daddy, whoever it is doing the best with the tools he has, which might really suck. But to have that compassion and willingness to, you know, stay in a loving state as best you can is great. But remember, you're working on a fried brain, so that's hard stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because I don't think sleep deprivation is talked about enough. I
Not
mean, you're really not anywhere near even like a normal version of yourself at that
right.
time.
Yes. Yes. But then we get judged for that, or we judge ourselves for that, or so I would even say that's again to set up the expectations like, hey, this is going to be hard for a few years. How are we going to manage this? How are we, if you're lucky enough to have a partner in the scene who's, in there, how are we going to do this? And this idea, again, it's new that we're just going to do it. We're going to keep adding to our plates and it's going to be fine. You are already busy and feeling kind of towards the end of your rope when then you had a kid. Are you kidding me? Not to mention you just had a baby, like pregnancy and having the baby in your body. I remember my body changing and just not being prepared for what that felt like and what that was and what it was after. It's the again, the expectations that we're supposed to just leave the hospital and button the top button of our pants back up. It's craziness. But if you can remember that your bandwidth, it's not how much time you have in the day. I say this a lot. It's how much mind you have in the day. It's how much bandwidth you have. And that's why you can go all day, right? And you're like, oh, tonight I'm going to clean out the closets, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going, right? Because you have time. You think, right? Oh, we have time. I'm gonna have time to go to yoga. And all you want to do is sit on the couch or lay in bed and eat Oreos and, have a glass of wine or whatever you might do and not talk to anyone because you have time left. You don't have bandwidth left. Emotional bandwidth you've used up, and the sleep dysregulation creates even less emotional bandwidth. So one of the things I work a lot when I'm working with clients and they're telling me they're going to get pregnant or they're going to have a baby, I have these conversations early. I'm like, they have premarital marital counseling. They should
Hmm.
have pre-baby counseling.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Would you start that please as a business? Someone listening, start that as a business. I'm
Somebody
telling you.
do it.
Someone do it. I'm telling you, no one gets it's, "Oh, it's natural. They've been doing it for centuries," you know? It's not natural the way we do it now. It doesn't fit the way it goes now.
Mhm.
And so again, this idea that you can just keep adding, and then when you have a kid, then it's as they get older, you get through the baby stuff, and then it's like sports teams and they should play an instrument, and what about learning another language? And oh my gosh, they have to. Oh my lord. And then we're just adding, and the adding never stops. And you have to take something off the plate. You can't keep adding to the plate. Things fall off the plate. And you know what falls off? Our self-care, our love of ourselves, our love of our partners. That's what falls off the plate. Something's going to go.
Mhm.
I promise you. I promise you. Anything you do. And right now we're doing this. I'm so happy to do the podcast. I'm so happy to be speaking with you. And my children are at home right now without me. Right? Like, I'm not home with the kids. They're okay, they're teenagers, but you know what I mean? Like, but something else is not getting done, or I'm not lying in bed reading, or I'm not, I don't know, having sex with my husband, or I'm not like, there's things I'm not doing while I'm here. And I love this. I'm fine with, I love what we're doing, but for some reason, people don't get that. They think, well, oh yeah, I can do all of it. No, you can't. You can do it all, like, but not at the same time, as we know, right? As everybody has said.
Mhm.
But you really can do it all, but you have to be aware of allowing things to go, not trying to think that everything has to stay on that plate. And that's the shift in mindset. Of course, I feel like I have it all. I feel like I have everything. And I have all these things, but I there's a lot I don't do, but I'm okay with it. Does that make sense, hopefully?
100%. Yeah. And I want to touch upon something you said because you said the first thing or the usual thing to go is self-care and the relationship, like the love part with your partner. So
Yep.
I see this a lot. I mean, I think we've all experienced this as moms. Like, what advice do you have when it comes to really rekindling that romance and prioritizing that partnership? It's Valentine's Day. Like, it's the perfect day, I think, to bring this up because I'm sure
Yeah.
many people listening don't have childcare tonight,
Right.
aren't doing anything necessarily romantic or special, which is fine.
Yep.
That can happen any day of the week
Yep.
that you can do that. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be February 14th, but how can you reprioritize that romance? Because I think also when you're really good and happy and in a good place in your relationship, other things thrive too.
Everything's great. Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
And when you're miserable and it's all you can think about. And
Yes.
I have get this, they're very easy suggestions. And again, everything's from the research that I talk about. I want to say that first. There's nothing I
Hmm.
like made up out of whole cloth. So here's what we know works from the research. And it's easier than you think. So first of all, I think I did a whole I did not, I think I did a whole podcast on no more date nights. Date nights make me crazy because the whole time you're out, you have to get all the care for the kids and all this. I mean, there's so much work to go out to dinner, right? And then the whole
It's a lot of
time you're just
work.
thinking, oh my God, I have to have sex later because it's date night. And so you're like the whole time, it's like, oh, maybe I just give him a blowjob and be done. Like, I don't even know. Like, oh, I gotta, and then all you're doing is watching him like chew with his mouth open. And you're like, and you're annoyed, like, why is he chewing ice? What's going on? It's disgusting. I don't want to have sex later. Right. So there's all this like pressure, especially Valentine's Day. It's the worst. I tell all my couples, I'm like, don't go out on Valentine's Day. Just Gary and I we don't consider it a special holiday. We give each other a card. So I'm like, it has to be a good card and you got to write something in it. So there's no expectations of flowers or, again, that's usually when we're disappointed because we're expecting these things. That's how I know he loves me. And I will tell you this, every single woman listening, when you made a list, which you probably did at some point, of the perfect partner, like that you know what you had on that, you know what you didn't have on that list? Mows the lawn well, chews with his mouth closed, brings me flowers on the holidays. You didn't have that on your list. You know what you had on your list? Has my back. I always know he has my best interests at heart. He tells me the truth. We have a really honest, open relationship. That's what you had. But what happens when we don't get what we need, we focus on what we want. So when you're focusing on the sock on the floor or the fact that he didn't this or oh, look at that, that's the problem. Think about what you want. You want emotional closeness, you want connection. So here are the things, and I even made a little list before we talked because I was like, I really want to make sure I hit some of the easier ones. So I want you to focus instead. So on Valentine's Day, if we're talking about tonight, I'd love for you to sit down, take half an hour away from the kids, and write goals that you would like to have this year for the two of you emotionally. Emotionally. I want to feel safe with you. I want to feel like we have a lot of honesty that I want to feel that I'm able to share my feelings without you getting upset. I want to know that you have my back. When we're out to dinner and you don't agree with me, um, you don't say it in front of other people, but you maybe tell me later alone. Or like, I want to know you have my back. Do you see what I'm saying? Like those right there, you will have a more intimate conversation than you ever would have had going out to dinner and having sex and doing, this will make you want to have sex. Trust me, as you're coming together. So I that is really huge. I say a lot, you have to connect to correct. So you have to be in a connected place to then ask your husband or your partner to do something. And then he wants to do it. But when you're disconnected, he does not want to do it. He doesn't even hear you, right? My other favorite question, because sex is usually an issue, especially when we have kids, is the best question for a great sex conversation is what would you like to see more of in our sex life? It opens every door. So it's not negative. Well, I don't like when this happens and we don't have enough. And he might say, I would like to have sex more. And then I want you to follow up with questions. Be not rebut. Well, we have sex 3 times a week. I've had couples where the guy is saying, I'd like to have sex. Well, we should at least have sex every other day. And the wife is saying, we do. We have sex like 3 or 4 times a week. Like what, you know what I mean? So instead of rebutting, say like, well, we do, we have sex, don't go, or I just had the baby and I can't, none of that. Say, what does more mean to you? And you have to be curious. Don't not be curious. It's not going to go anywhere. Really with a loving heart, ask, what does more sex mean to you? Like, is it like like longer when we do have sex? Is it more, trust me, some men don't mean more times a week or they want to have blowjobs, or they want, or they want to go down on you, or they want more. And if they do say more times a week, okay, ask more. Well, what else would you like to? So, okay, great. What else would you like to see? And get deeper about because often people want to have sex more because they're not getting what they really need when they get it. And so if you can help the person get, your partner get past that, and then you can always ask, do you want to ask me that question? Would you like to ask me what I'd like to see more of in our sex life? And he might or might not listen and get the answer. And, if you hear a yes, I would like to know what you like. Great answer. And if he says, no, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, say, okay, let me know if you are. And, just start to open the door to the conversation. So I would love for you to do that on Valentine's Day. After that, I want you to focus on setting intention. I call it the 18-second shift because I've timed it. That's how anal and crazy I am. I've timed it multiple times. It takes an average of 18 seconds. And what you do is you just stop, you sort of just take a breath. Doesn't have to be a special yoga breath or anything. And you set intention for how you want to be. Like when you wake up in the morning, how do I want to be in this day or this morning? I set multiple intentions all day. I set intention before this podcast, before I came on, that I wanted to be helpful and I want to be of service and I want people to really walk away with something they can do today. Like that was my intention, which hopefully will be felt. And what happens when you set intention? Like my intention is to be mindful to my partner, to be loving. And you can say that out loud. I mean, great. Micro connections. Gary and I have a thing where we always, no matter what, greet each other at the door. And I'm like big on this. I make all my couples do this because I'm a bossy Jewish mother. I'm like, you have to go do this. Whatever you're doing, stop doing it. Whoever's home, stop doing it and go greet them at the door. And we sort of will joke like about being a golden retriever at the door. That's like our joke right now. Like I want you to be, how golden retrievers are when you come home. Like they're
The best.
they're so excited. Like they haven't ever seen you before and you're the best thing they've ever seen. So, and Gary is 6'4", so he's a large human, he's like, and he'll be jumping at the door. It's very sweet. And it puts I'm walking in and there's this beautiful man just, And then we always hug at the door. Like he'll open the door for me, I step in and he'll pick me up sometime. There's a real embrace. You can make out if you want. And we know that kisses that last longer than 5 seconds. John Gottman, who's a famous marriage researcher, calls them kisses with potential. There's something that starts to happen in the brain. You release different neurotransmitters when you kiss more than 5 seconds. So even do that. Make a intention to kiss for more than 5 seconds. Hug for more than 5 seconds. Really, hi. It's really good to see you. I missed you. Do you know what I mean? Like real eye contact with the person. And so if something's on the stove, move it. If you're talking to the kids, stop. If or whatever, you might be the one again. He can leave the email for a minute. It's okay. These days with people working at home so much, I just tell people, and I've had CEOs of industry do it where they stop a meeting and go, "My wife is home. I'm just going to be 1 second. I'll be right. 1 minute. Everyone take a bathroom break. I'll be right back." By the way, what a beautiful thing to model for people. But beyond that, or just say, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. People don't care. You can leave a meeting and go and greet your person. It takes 30 seconds, a minute. It's not that long. And what it does, instead of like, "Hey, how you doing? Are you home?" Yelling across the house, "Oh, go put this away. Please take out the garbage before you come in. Please." You're already ordering each other around. It's the worst. Connect to correct. Connect first, then do the things. So micro connections, huge. Touch often. Do you know how many times we touch our iPhones a day? Our phones a day? Right now, it's supposed to be, we open them an average of 180 times a day. This is Apple research. If Imagine touching your partner 180 times a day. Like, try to touch your partner every time you touch your phone. See what that's like. Do that. Definitely put your phones away. Lots of research on this that phones are distracting even if they're face down. So have places where there's no electronics. Like for us, it's the dinner table. There are no, including my children, there's no electronics at the dinner. I'd rather have a short dinner that was meaningful than a longer dinner where people had, little kids have toys and distractions. That you don't need to have all that. You can teach your children to be in the space and ask them questions. Have everybody ask questions. What would, and again, not how was your day, right? But was there a favorite thing that happened today? My favorite question that I ask my kids, who did you help today? When you start asking your kids, who did you help today? They start coming home telling you. So you're putting that in your child to think of helping people during the day. That was one of the questions I always, and my kids are, psychologist kids, of course they're very, they think of helping others. I opened the door for somebody when I walked into Starbucks, or I'm like, great. It doesn't have to be big. You have to help people in big ways. You can open a door. You can do small things. There was someone crossing the street. I made sure they were okay. I walked slow behind them so they didn't feel rushed. They start to see all the ways they can be of service. So those are the biggies. And I would say the other thing for us moms, especially with our kids, um, I have a post that's how to have 8 tips for a great morning, even if you have kids. And one of the things I talk about a lot is in the morning, I focus that I'm being of service. And it really helps my connection. When we just get up and start going, right? Usually because we sleep too late. I know we're sleep deprived, but trust me, that 15 more minutes is doing more bad things than good. For me, I get up pretty early and I get ready, and I did this even when they were really little. I got ready, I got myself as together as I could. It's different now, now I can actually put on my makeup and stuff. And then I go wake up my children, or then I go, kind of take care of them when I hear them wake up. And I'll tell you, even as teenagers, it's the best when they're teenagers because otherwise they don't let you hug them as much, but they're helpless in bed in the morning. It's fabulous. So I just like crawl right in there. I'm like, screw you. Uh, I'm in there. I'm touching them. I'm hugging on them. I'm squeezing them. But it's such a nice way to wake up. And it's funny because I've even asked my son, who, by the way, I told you was 19. He's 20. I said something to my son the other day, yesterday, after I told you, he's 20. I say, he's like, Mom, I'm 20. How do you not know how old I am? I was like, oh my God. So just letting you can forget the age of your kids. But anyway, I've asked them, I'm like, does it really bother you? And they love it. Of course they do. Of course that's something special to them that they'll always remember, this calm waking up this not screaming from the other room. Are you ready? Did you get your shoes? Did you do whatever? And when they were little, we used to do couch time, I called it. And I write about it, So I would wake them up earlier than they needed to be. We'd get them to the couch and the dog is there, and we would just have like snuggle time on the couch and we maybe play a little bit or something. Just calm. It's like kind of like the next step of waking up, just calm time. When my kids were little, they'd have a bottle maybe or something, but it was calm time. And then I would say, what do you want for breakfast? Let's talk about breakfast. Here are your two choices. I would go make breakfast and I was sort of open concepts. I could see them, and they'd be playing or doing whatever. And then we'd come eat. It was the same thing every morning though, same routine. And then I would follow them. Like, let's go. Okay, let's go get dressed. Do you know what I mean? And maybe I would start with the dishes then, and then they'd go in. But then I went. I didn't yell from the other room, brush your teeth. I was standing there, right? Or I'd be in the room playing with something while they did it. I didn't have to like micromanage, but just being around, of course, they stay on it and don't get distracted by shiny things. And so I would play with something and they go do it. And then, all right, we always had shoes near the door. Why do shoes disappear? I don't even, people talk about socks, but it's the shoes. But, let's get out the door. It was just the same every day. And when kids have routine, again, we know this from the research, they do better. And when adults have routines, we do better. So as best as you can do that, I know there's some nights where, you got an hour of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. If the routine helps you with that emotional dysregulation, it helps you just stay in the habit so that you can get through it. And even though you don't feel as lovey, and I have crawled into beds with my kids and fallen asleep because I was so sleep deprived, it's happened. So you have to be careful. But having a routine will really change everything.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Habits are effortless, and the more of them that you have in your everyday life, the easier it is to kind of get through the day to day
Yes.
operations of managing all the things.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Abby, we could talk, I know, all day
I know. I'm
long
so
about this
sorry. I had
stuff.
so much. I was like, I just have
No,
to shut up.
I love
Yeah.
these tips. They are so good. They're so simple and easy. I actually tonight, my husband and I have a date night scheduled. It's rare occasion, but
Mhm.
we do. And I'm going to bring up some of those questions. I think they're great topics to talk
Good.
about. So thank you for
You are so
inspiring me in that
welcome.
way and for just all the great tips that you've shared. So, before we wrap up the episode, we like to do a little bit of a lightning round where we ask you some really just random fun questions so our listeners can get to know you more personally. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, let's see. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would love to fly because I love to
Yeah.
travel.
Number one answer given on this show, believe it or not.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. What about if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life? What would it be?
For me, it's between, of course, chocolate, but sushi. I really love sushi. I could eat that every day.
What about your guilty pleasure TV show? What's your favorite thing to watch?
I don't know. I don't watch TV, but I saw that. And my kids and I do like to watch 90 Day Fiance together. And that has been really
Mm,
fun together. It's something that all three of us can do.
I
Gary
bet.
will not watch it, but the three of us like to watch it. And it's really fun.
Yeah, I like those type of shows too.
Yeah.
I'm actually a fan. My guilty pleasure TV show. I don't watch a lot of TV either, but it's Love is Blind. Have you seen it?
We haven't delved there, but we've seen of it. Yes.
I would be
That's
really
great.
curious on your take on it as an
Cool.
expert in relationships. So maybe next time we chat.
Okay. I'm in. I'll watch some.
Yeah. All right. Finally, what book are you reading right now?
I'm rereading Ask and It's Given by Esther, Jerry, and Abraham Hicks. I'm a big follower
Yes.
of them and have been since 1986, which is so crazy. And really, if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear Esther translates for Abraham and I translate for Esther. So I've been lucky enough to meet her. And yeah, I've been
Oh,
very
amazing.
involved in that world for many years. So I reread the
Love
books
that.
often, and that's one on my nightstand.
Love that. Yeah, I listen to a lot of their stuff or her stuff
Hmm.
on YouTube.
Yeah, they have the
Um
15-minute videos, right? Really easy.
yeah, I like to
Yeah.
do that while I'm like preparing things in the morning if no one's
Mhm.
around. I'll keep that on and I feel like it just like subconsciously
Oh
gets me
yeah.
in a good state for the
Oh
day,
yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah. That's
Mhm.
great.
All right, Dr. Abby, please tell our listeners where they can find you, get access to more of your resources, just get more of you.
Get more of me. Everything is on the website, abbymedcalf.com, which I'm sure you'll link to. It's
Mhm.
abbymedcalf.com. And I write a blog for every single podcast episode so that, because I'm a busy mom and I know you don't have to listen to the whole podcast because they are longer than yours, they're like an hour, and get all the research, all the tips. If you liked me today, you'll love the podcast. It's all tips, actionable tools. But I write the blog so that you could just read in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Instead of listening to a whole episode,
Mhm.
or you listen to the episode and you want to take notes and you're driving, you can go back and copy and paste later and take notes right from the blog. So I do
I
that
love
with
that.
that intention of making it easier for people to access, research-based, evidence-based information, what we know really works, and what I've been using with my clients for 40 years, almost 40 years now. And I use in my own life to great positive effect. So come
Perfect.
see me.
Okay. Yes, we will definitely link that today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful that you were here today, that you shared so much wisdom, so much insight, and just you brought such great energy to this show. So thank you
Oh.
so much for being a guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so, so happy to be here.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.